For this next example in 3-4, we're using what's called an area model in order to show how we can multiply fractions. This is pretty much exactly what we just did with the fraction bar, except we're turning it into an area model. Now we know when we find the area of a square or a rectangle, anytime we find the area, we're doing length times width. So really, area is a multiplication problem. We're doing length times width, which is exactly what we're doing when we multiply our fractions. So if you want to follow along with me, I'm on page 76. This is page 76 in your activity book. So I want to just walk you through why this drawing looks the way it does, because it's a little hard when you just read it. So we are looking to find 2/3 of 4/5, which we did on the previous page with the fraction bars. So this is the exact representation of 2/3 of 4/5, and we got 18/15 on page 75. So 4/5 is what we start off with. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5/5, and we've shaded 4 of those because this is what we have. Now we have to find 2/3 of the 4/5. So we have 4/5 shaded, but now remember we had to cut it into thirds. So we have taken and cut 1 horizontal line here, 2 horizontal line here, and that has separated it into thirds. You can see 1/3, 1/3, and 1/3. Here's our 4/5 right here. Now, if I'm looking for 2/3 of 4/5, what I'm looking for is the place where my orange and blue overlap. So here you can see there's 2 colors on these boxes right there. And if I count them, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's this. And then I'm looking for the total number of boxes in the whole square, or in the whole area model. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And I have 15 total. So this is showing me that if I take 4/5 and then I separate it into thirds and I take 2/3 of the 4/5, I will have 18/15 total. That's the overlapping section. So the 8 at the top is telling us how much is overlapping. That means it's orange and blue. So that's what that section is showing us. So I'm going to do a demonstration for you on one of these problems, and then I'm going to have you try the next couple, and then we'll go ahead and talk about this a little bit more in our Zoom at 9 o'clock. So this is kind of just for you to get the hang of what we're talking about. So this is 1/2 of 3/8. So I'm going to start with the 3/8, and I'm going to divide my square into eighths. So I'm going to start with half. And then if I find fourths, which is 1/2 of a half, and then I can split these in half. That's kind of the easiest way I do to find eighths pretty evenly. So there are my eighths, and I have 3 of them. And so I'm going to shade 3. Here's 1, 2, 3. So here's 3 eighths. Okay, and I want to find 1/2 of my eighth. So now I'm going to separate into halves the other direction. So in blue, I'm separating into halves, and then I have 1 of them. So I'm going to shade 1/2. So this is 1/2 shaded blue, and 3/8 are shaded orange. So when I look for the answer, I'm looking for what is overlapping, which is right here. This is my overlap because it's orange and blue. And I see that I have 1, 2, 3 pieces. So I'm going to put a 3 at the top because I have 3 pieces that overlapped. And then I got to figure out how many pieces I had total once I did my multiple cuts. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 pieces in the whole. So I end up with 3/16. So again, I started with 3/8, which were my long orange pieces, and then I was taking half of that. So I'm taking half of each eighth, but I have to take into consideration the entire whole, right? So the whole is this big piece, and that's one whole. So in order to figure out how many pieces I have to cut the whole, and then I look for how many pieces overlap. So I want you to go ahead and do your best to try these next two problems. We will fix them or just correct them when you are done in our Zoom, but you're gonna start with the 2/3. I'm gonna get you started. You're gonna start with 2/3, so we separate our box into 2/3, and then you need to shade 2 of the thirds. So that's how you're gonna start this one. I would recommend either colored pencils or using like different directional lines. And then in this one right here, you're starting with 1/3 again. So you're gonna cut into thirds, and then you're shading one of those because you have 1/3. Because we're trying to find, in this one, 5/6 of 1/3. And in this one, you're finding 3/4 of 2/3. So you're cutting the next part, you're gonna cut your 3/4 and shade. And on number 5, you're gonna cut your 5/6 and shade. So try these out, do your best, and then if you have some questions, bring them to Zoom, and I will see you soon. Good luck.